July 23rd, 2016. This is the Watchman News. I'm Mike Callahan. There's a story that happened, I'm thinking it was about a week ago when this happened. A therapist was shot while trying to get his client, his patient, back to the facility, an autistic man. So anyway, this is an extension of that report. It's from the Miami Herald. The link will be in the description tab. It's titled, Mom of Autistic Man at Center of Charles Kinsey Shooting. My Son is Traumatized. We're going to start out with, I believe this is going to be the video of the actual incident. So we'll start out with that.
Like, please don't shoot me. But why they shot the black boy and not the fat boy?
You know, because they were the blacks, you know.
I don't know who's guilty. It's gonna be on.
Alrighty. So that was the incident as it unfolded. To give you an idea, that is he's holding the truck that he had out there, which wasn't a fire truck as reported. It's a transformer truck, but nonetheless, it's a toy truck. And that's another picture of the gentleman holding a stuffed animal. I believe another video is playing here. So the story goes as this, and there's other videos down through it that we will play. Gladys Soto learned that her adult son was at the center of a brewing national scandal over the excessive use of police force and the rights of disabled people when a church friend called her Monday. Was she watching television? Was that Arnaldo, her son with autism, clutching a toy truck next to a caregiver who had just been shot? It would be hours before 60-year-old Gladys Soto learned the truth. Her son, Arnaldo Eliud Rios Soto, and I apologize because I'm sure I didn't say that correctly, had wandered away from his North Miami group home. His behavior aide, a man Rios loved, had been shot by police as he desperately tried to warn them that Rios had autism, was not a danger to anyone, and was wielding a toy truck, not a gun. As Charles Kinsey lay on the ground, hands raised above him in a sign of abject submission, a bullet from a police sniper pierced his leg. The head of Miami-Dade's police union later insisted the bullet had been meant for Rios. So let's watch this video here.
And we're asking the community to please allow facts, not sensationalism, not politics, but facts to allow to work through the system. Today we are prepared to fix some wrongs. Today we're going to talk about some of the things we do know. Now, I do not know all of the answers, but I want to share something or some things with you. One, a call was sent out that there was an armed man. And if I can just back up a second, the officer in this case, as well as the PDA, wish nothing but the best for Mr. Kinsley. And the officer is praying for his speedy recovery, as are we. Later on, I'm going to give you or share with you a message that he sent to us that he would like for the public to know. But I want to go to the beginning. There was a call about a suicidal man with a gun. The officers already heard that. Number two, when they arrived, they saw two men, Mr. Kinsley and the other individual, the white male. And it appeared to the officers that the white male was trying to do harm to Mr. Kinsley. The officers, realizing and believing that there was a firearm, and many officers thought the white male had a firearm. Only much later, when we're able to Monday morning quarterback, do we find out that it's a toy. Only much later do we find out that the individual was autistic. The officers on the scene did not know that. And fearing for Mr. Kinsley's life, the officer discharged his firearm trying to save Mr. Kinsley's life. And he missed and accidentally struck Mr. Kinsley. He thought the white male and his actions were such that he felt Mr. Kinsley's life was in danger. Now, the video that is being shown is being portrayed poorly. One, many in the media are saying you can clearly hear Mr. Kinsley. Well, if you can clearly hear Mr. Kinsley, why does every news outlet have to put subtitles? You can't clearly hear Mr. Kinsley. Number two, whomever filmed the incident filmed it from a different vantage point and much closer than the officer was. Folks, being a police officer has always been difficult. And lately, it's been more difficult, more challenging. Sometimes police officers do wrong and we let the system work. And sometimes police officers are right and we still crucify them. And then sometimes police officers make mistakes because at the end of the day, they are not computers, they are not robots, they are God's creation, and they make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake in the sense that the officer shot the wrong guy or he thought that Kinsley was the bad guy. This was a mistake in the sense that he knew or felt that Mr. Kinsley was the victim and was about to lose his life. And rather than to sit there and watch and do nothing, he attempted to stop the white male and accidentally shot Mr. Kinsley. I beg the media to be responsible. I beg politicians to not turn this into some political gamemanship. South Florida is a mature community. When we do wrong, we admit it. When we do right, we stand by it. And when one of our own goes astray, we condemn it. And we ask that everybody, please give the facts the forefront of this case. This really is a simple but yet tragic case. You had a bunch of officers doing their job, responding, helping the public. And one officer, like many others, thought that Mr. Kinsley's life was in danger. He tried to do something about it, and sadly and tragically, struck Mr. Kinsley. And, like I said, he made it very clear that he is praying for Mr. Kinsley, and he wishes him a speedy recovery, as do we. This text, or this piece of information, came to us by the officer. And I will read it as it was written. I took this job to save lives and help people. I did what I had to do in a split second to accomplish that, and hate to hear others paint me as something I am not. Folks, this is not what the rest of the nation is going through. And I ask you, please, 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 let's all be responsible. Let's all work together. Let's all work together. And to Mr. Kinsley, the officer is sorry. He wishes a speedy recovery to you, as do we. The PBA sends our love, our support, and our prayers. I wish that somehow or another humans could be perfect. But we're not. We're not. And even though we try to improve each and every day, under each and every circumstance, we try to learn, because we try to do better. And I beg of the media, please do a little better. Please work with us and make sure that you send out facts and not try to editorialize something that's not there. We need to move on. We need to make sure that Mr. Kinsley gets help and gets well. There are many other questions that we ourselves have. We ourselves have questions, and those questions will come later. But right now, we want the truth to go out. And this has already started across the nation and has given some people who are just looking for any excuse to fuel issues. This is not that case. This is not that smoking gun you think it is. And so I beg everybody, peace. I beg the politicians, don't capitalize on this. And I beg the citizens to allow the rest of the facts to come out. I do not know all the facts, but I have shared with you what I do know, and we're willing to take any questions.
Do you know if the officer had CIT training?
I do not know. I do not know his training. I know that he was a member of the SWAT team.
John, you say the media is what, blowing us out of proportion?
Well, I've already seen.
It a little bit.
Yeah, I've already seen some news reports that said the officer clearly would have or should have seen that it was a toy. I don't know how the media got that information, but that's not what the officers saw. Not only this officer, but all the officers on the scene. So I don't know how that came about. I know that some comments are being made that he was down and he had the hands up. And listen, Mr. Kinsley did everything right. Let's be real clear about that. Mr. Kinsley did everything right. What the officer didn't know what was the white individual's intentions. He thought Mr. Kinsley was about to be killed. He actually was trying to save Mr. Kinsley, not trying to hurt him.
So he was trying to shoot the gentleman that was sitting up with the toy, and he missed, and he got Kinsley.
With what we later know is a toy, but what he thought was a firearm. Yes, sir. That is correct.
You know how far the officers were from
Pardon?
you know how far the officers were?
I don't, but I know it wasn't as close as the videotape.
The officers shot was he behind the patrol car or behind the police?
I don't have that answer.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't know the
and
answer.
one other question.
Sure.
The officers did not hear Kinsey on the ground yelling to them?
They did not.
So they didn't hear him explaining what.
Correct. And look, I mean, the media itself it's not, while they're saying it's clear, the media has to put subtitles. Because it's really not that clear. If you close your eyes and even watch your own reports, you don't really understand what he's saying.
Yeah, right.
John, this happened when? Monday? When did this happen?
Monday.
Okay, so this is Thursday. This doesn't surface until somebody puts out video.
Right.
Right. Your reaction to that?
You
Why
know-
didn't we hear from the cops before
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. You know, Hank, we've talked, I think, about this so many times. The sad part about all these cases, it's not something that I agree with, but I don't run the police departments. All police departments tend to shut down and do not speak and do not give information. I don't know the reason for that, but I couldn't allow this to continue. For the community's sake, and for the officer's sake, and for Mr. Kinsley's sake. We felt we had a responsibility to nip this before it gets out of control, like so many others have gotten out of control, and then we find out way after the destruction of the community, the truth. We want the truth to come out now.
Do you know anything about the officer experience?
I don't know. I think he's a decorated officer. I have been informed he is a member of SWAT. And I don't think he's had any issues.
You were telling the Spanish stations that the officers saw some sort of like a movement towards Mr. Kinsley, and was he on top of Mr. Kinsley?
Yeah, from what we gather is Mr. Kinsley was on the ground doing everything right, but he had his legs up, and the movement of the white individual looked like he was getting ready to discharge a firearm into Mr. Kinsley. And the officer discharged, trying to strike and stop the white male, and unfortunately, he missed the white male and shot Mr. Kinsley by accident. This is not a case of a rogue cop. This is not a case of police abuse. This is a case where a police officer was trying to save Mr. Kinsley's life, and unfortunately, his shot went astray.
Okay, so I'm going to go back up and I'm going to see if I can get this video. I may just have to reload the page. I don't know how to get back to that video without... Hang on. Let me just reload the page. Because like I say, I don't know how to get back to that video without doing that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to prove some points with this, okay? So the first big claim is that they didn't hear him. So now what I'm going to show you, hang on, wait. Okay, so you see the distance. Just a rough idea. We don't have to be all professional experts here or anything like that. You get a rough idea of the distance between us and the two gentlemen in the street. Okay? Pretty good distance. Now, by the way, you hear that? Shut up, boy. Who do you think that is talking? See? Okay. That's the autistic boy talking to his therapist, okay? You can hear that plain. You can hear that plain. Okay, he's saying, can I get up? Now, I don't need any type of translation going on here. I don't need subtitles. I plainly hear what he's saying. Okay, now I want to point something else out because every little bitty detail is important. Did you notice how the autistic man, you could hear him much clearer and much louder than what you can the therapist? The reason why is because he was pointed at us when he was speaking. Okay, so the sound waves were coming directly at us. We were getting the omnidirectional sound from his mouth. Now, anything that the therapist says, I said omni. I meant the unidirectional. Sorry, the one direction. We're getting the unidirectional sound from the autistic man. Now, we're getting the omnidirectional sound coming from the therapist because his mouth is facing away. That is an important point when it comes to sound travel. You hear him just, I hear him fine. I know I have headphones on, but I hear him fine. Okay, now what I want you to do is understand that right below the left-hand corner of the screen is where they are sitting in the street. Okay, so my point is that officer right there that you see on your screen is roughly the same distance from them as we are. Now their claim was that they couldn't tell what he was saying. That was the claim. Okay? Let's continue. Now there's another officer. I believe that's an officer. It's another person. It's over there. It's got to be an officer. They're pointing a gun at him. And that's a totally different angle, totally different aspect of what's going on. Now, my question is, okay, why isn't this officer telling the other officer, I don't think that's a gun? Hang on. I wanted to show you something else here. Okay? We're going to look at the distance. Now, she is quite a bit further away. She's probably about twice as far away as the other officer. Okay? But I'm telling you that this whole situation is just insane. Okay? Absolutely insane to claim that they thought that he was going to try and harm the therapist. So let's back up here. Now the claim was that the therapist's legs were like up, right? To where it was appearing that the autistic man was trying to attack him. Okay, now understand angles and stuff here, but their claim of his legs being in the air is false. Now see, like right here. Now come on. Really? Really? That other gentleman, the closer officer, the one across the street from this camera view, cannot tell at this point that that is not a gun? Wow. Arnaldo must not have a gun. He must have a bazooka, according to them, because we're about the same distance away, and I can clearly tell you that is not a firearm.
He's like, please don't shoot me. But why they shot the black boy and not the...
And so the video, switched. Apparently there was a time that the video is missing there. But I think I pretty well proved my points with what I was trying to get at. It is not feasible at all for them to say that they did not hear that therapist tell them what was going on. Okay? So let's continue on reading. I feel like my wings have been cut off. And it's the end of everything, Soto told the Miami Herald Saturday morning. It's too emotional to see your baby caught up in something like this. It was more than her son could endure, as well. On Tuesday, Rios wondered yet again He returned to the blood-stained sidewalk where his caregiver had been shot the day before and threw himself to the ground, his mother says. Rocking rhythmically, he shouted, "I hate the police. I hate the police." Rios has been in the psychiatric wing of Aventura Hospital since then, said Soto, who visited her son Friday night. For days, Rios had remained hospitalized in the same dirty clothes and blood-stained jacket he was wearing when his image was seared into the national debate about race and policing and the senseless shooting of unarmed men. Soto only wanted to protect her son, not become a national symbol. "It is me against an entire system," she said. "I feel alone and weak, like a soldier fighting against an entire army." Rios, 26, was diagnosed with a complex and disabling form of autism as a small child. He is largely nonverbal, though he can use a handful of words. Police and blood and hate are among them. He's big and he's tall, and all that bigness can be a danger when Rios loses his temper. We don't have enough high-quality, well-supported, evidence-based places for people like this to live and get better, said Michael Alessandri, who heads the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, or CARD, at the University of Miami. These are not throwaway individuals just because they are behaviorally challenged. They can get better. Soto spoke to the Herald on Saturday morning partly because she had become very weary of watching the controversy unfold while her son remained a mystery, or worse, a caricature. "He can't be just the autistic man anymore," said the family's attorney, Matthew Dietz. "It makes his life have no value. His name is Arnaldo Eluid Rios Soto." And I apologize if I said that wrong. In June, state disability administrators said that Rios would be safe and well cared for in a group home managed by Mactown, a private service provider for people with developmental disabilities. But Soto said she wasn't really offered any choices. There are very few programs in Florida for people like Rios, whose autism or intellectual impairments can lead to often severe behavioral outbursts. It seemed like a poor fit to Soto, almost from the beginning. On July 4th, she said, she called Mactown to tell staff members that her son was fascinated by fireworks and would want to see a local display. She said she also warned them to be alert to challenging behaviors. On July 5th, a behavior analyst from the group home called to tell her that she needed to go to an urgent care center immediately. Rios had been injured while being restrained the day before, she said, and doctors could not treat the young man without her medical consent, as she was his legal guardian. He was trying to get out of the house, and he became aggressive, and he was not allowed to get out of the house. Soto said Rios had broken his nose during the restraint. He had also broken his finger, an injury to the group home says probably occurred earlier. When Soto saw her son, he had a purple bruise covering his left eye. His chest was a swirl of yellow and red bruising. "First, I felt guilty. It was my responsibility to protect him, and I failed," Soto said. Soto wanted her son moved to another group home, but she said she was told the transfer would take some time. On Monday, Rios decided to remain home from a day program he usually attends. Kinsey stayed home, too, to supervise him. When Rios left the group home, his toy truck, which he clings to for comfort, in his hand, Kinsey followed him. "We can't prevent people from going out the door. They have rights," said Mactown's director, Clinton Bauer. "All we can do is try to ensure their safety." North Miami police say they received a 911 call saying someone was in the street armed with a handgun, a call police have yet to release. That's interesting, huh? Bauer said he believes it's more likely officers were told Rios, his client, was having an altercation with Kinsey, who is African American. Kinsey was trying to coax Rios from the middle of the street and into a safe spot, Bauer said, when officers arrived. Mactown caregivers are highly trained in ways to de-escalate risky and violent encounters, which are not uncommon among people with autism, Bauer said. But, he added, we certainly don't expect to be dealing with this every day. After Kinsey was shot, the caregiver was rolled onto his belly and handcuffed, an image that badly exasperated the public relations nightmare North Miami police faced. But Rios, too, was treated like a criminal, said both his mother and Bauer. For at least 3 hours, the young man remained handcuffed in the back of a police squad car. Soto's church friend begged officers to see Rios, as did Bauer, but officers kept Rios under wraps until about 9 p.m., Bauer said. Police told Bauer that Rios was acting loopy, Bauer said, adding Rios kept talking about Disney characters. They clearly couldn't see he was a person with autism or another disability. Dietz, the family's lawyer, said Rios' 3 hours in a police car might have been nearly as traumatic as the shooting. This is a person who calms himself by slapping his hands and rocking, Dietz said. But he could do nothing as waves of anxiety cascaded over him in police custody. After police returned Rios to the group home, the young man's behavior deteriorated again. Police shoot, police shoot, police shoot Charles, he kept shouting, Bauer said. It was horrible. Bauer readily acknowledges that in this situation it appears we didn't do our job, and his program is paying for it. I have employees resigning. I have families of people we have served who are concerned and want to pull their loved ones from the group homes now. I clearly understand where Ms. Soto is coming from, Bauer said. I empathize with her. I am 100% behind her. I feel her pain and I feel her shock. This had to be the hardest thing in her life to see. It was for me. For her part, Soto said she feels terrible about Kinsey, the behavior aide who was shot. Kinsey was the person at Mactown with whom her son felt most at ease. His darker skin reminded Rios of his mother's last boyfriend, and Kinsey had always treated Rios with kindness. When their worlds collided and exploded, Kinsey was doing what he always did, trying to protect his client. Both men landed in hospital beds anyway, trying to heal. Charles was shot physically, Soto said, but my son has been traumatized by that incident. There's one more video here. We'll go ahead and play it.
Tonight on the North Miami police shooting making headlines across the nation. We now know the name of the officer who shot an unarmed man. And CBS 4's Tiani Jones talked to a man who accuses that officer of once roughing him up. Tiani.
Most of the attention has been focused on Charles Kinsey. Another family has also been dealing with the pain of this shooting.
Me lo han tratado como si fuera un pedacito de basura. Y él no merece eso. Él es un humano.
Our news partners Univision spoke with Gladys Soto. She's the mother of the other man you see in this video that's received national attention.
Es un bebé en un cuerpo de hombre.
Her son lives with autism, and she says Monday's shooting has left him traumatized, in the hospital and medicated. He repeats blood and shoot over and over.
Yo le pido a Dios que esto no sea verdad. Yo oro, Señor, que cuando yo despierte, esto no sea verdad.
The same thoughts went through Odilon Celestine after his experience with Officer Jonathan Aleda.
I see my door open, my light, my TV, everything on. And this time I called 911.
He says 2 white men had broken into his restaurant, King Creole, but when the officers arrived, Celestine says Aleda assumed he was the bad guy.
Police officers don't even ask me what happened. This police officer start push me and handcuff me, push me in the wall, and slap me everywhere.
He filed a complaint with the North Miami Police Department. In that internal investigation report, another officer said that when he arrived, the black male subject was handcuffed first and the only subject handcuffed.
2 white men stand up in front of my business and don't even say nothing. and put me in the back car for an hour.
Celestine was taken into custody, and later police say it was determined by officers that Mr. Celestine was the owner of the business that officers responded to and that Mr. Celestine was the victim. Aleda was exonerated of any wrongdoing, but this businessman says he still lives in fear after his experience.
Same police officer shot somebody. Same day I see that, I say, oh my God.
He says he hopes justice is served, and this mother wants it known that her son's life is precious.
La vida de él, porque es un niño especial, no valiera nada.
Officer Aleda is on paid administrative leave. However, today at a press conference, we learned that another member of the police department, a commander actually, was placed on non-paid administrative leave. They're accusing him of giving conflicting statements when it comes to this case. Reporting live from North Miami, Tiani Jones, CBS 4 News tonight.
Tiani, thank you.
So in other words, they are doing everything they can to cover anything there is about this case. They're trying to just cover it up. They're trying to shut it out. They're trying to make sure that you do not hear.
Look, there are
that you do not hear what has really transpired, which I think is pretty obvious just from the video, even though there seems to be a chunk of video missing. Wow. There's really not a lot to be left up to guess. It's crazy. Hopefully we'll hear that 911 call being released, but my suspicions are it's not what they want us to hear, so that's why it hasn't been. Praying for everybody here. Wow.